Operations from Jalo Part 2. A giant explosion lit up the sky, shattering David's downbeat thoughts. It was Paddy's greatest triumph. David and his sergeant did a jig. On arriving to pick up David and his sergeant, Gus heard how disappointed the two Special Air Servicemen were at not having any luck with their targets. The long-range desert group leader suggested laying a couple of road mines before setting off back to Jalo. 10 minutes later, an Italian truck burst into flames as it hit a road mine. The convoy arrived back at Jalo at 8:30 in the morning. It was an anxious wait for Paddy and his group. Rifles and guns in a salute greeted Paddy, who cackled through his report. Corporals Cooper and Bennett broke in with their exaggeration of the 20 planes totally wiped out. On arriving at the airport, their attention was taken up by a mess party taking place. Light shone beneath the door as Paddy burst the door open and sprayed the room with his machine gun. Other Special Air Servicemen took over as Paddy and 5 other men made for the stationary aircraft. Bombs planted, the party retreated to a safe distance. They were 1 bomb short. "Look!" someone shouted as Paddy ran to the aircraft with no bomb on it, jumped in the cockpit, and with his bare hands ripped out the controls, it was later reported. With aircraft exploding every few seconds, the raiding party made a quick getaway and headed for the rendezvous with the trucks of the long-range desert group and drove back safely to Jalo. 3 days later, Jock Luz and his group arrived back at Jalo. In his report to David and Paddy, he was a little taken aback and disappointed there were no aircraft to be seen. Lieutenant Morris of the long-range desert group let it be known of another target they could attack. German officers were noted to frequent a roadhouse at Mersa Brega. The raiding party were travelling in a captured Italian Lancia truck, which, to the annoyance of its occupants, constantly got bogged down in sand and had to be pushed and shoved exhaustively and had to be topped up by fuel every few miles. With luck, they tagged on the end of an enemy convoy who were heading along the same route. The party in the back of the Lancia smoked and joked with the passing enemy. On reaching the roadhouse, 6 trucks were parked up. Jock Luz climbed from the Lancia cabin to assess targets. An Italian came out of the shadows and asked him for a light for his cigarette. He laughed when Jock stuck a pistol in his stomach and told him to climb aboard the Lancia, as he was now a prisoner. An Italian came out of the roadhouse and raised his rifle after noticing the British markings on the Lancia. Jock Luz shouted out to some of the party to take on the roadhouse while he and others placed 30 bombs on the parked vehicles and buildings. With bullets flying and bombs exploding, Jock ordered everyone back to the Lancia. They took off down the coast road and back to Jalo. Bill Fraser and his party arrived back at Jalo 4 days later, having had the greatest success of all the groups, 37 aircraft accounted for at Ajdadia. It had not been easy, arriving at the airfield at 8 o'clock. A thick barbed wire fence proved difficult to cut through, and guards came around at frequent intervals. After hiding for an hour or more, the group managed to slip onto the airfield in 2 groups without being discovered. Dashing from one CR-42 aircraft to another, they planted their bombs. The first one exploded before the last bomb was in place. Bombs exploded every minute, causing panic and confusion among the enemy, allowing the raiding party to exit the airfield. Brigadier Marriott greeted Fraser's group with excitement, witnessing for himself the explosions on Ajdadia airfield. This had been a spectacular achievement for 1 officer and 3 men. Now the 8th Army could continue with their advance. It was reported later Rommel himself was at Ajdadia at the time of the attack. It was wondered what he made of the Special Air Service attacks on his aircraft. David's plans were now being taken on board by the very people who doubted him, having destroyed 61 aircraft, buildings blown up, vehicles and fuel dumps put out of action, not to mention the number of enemy killed. James Statter's books are available to buy on any Amazon site worldwide. Links are in the description below.